true from certain point of view.
Hello, welcome. We are live. Say hi, Josh.
All right. Hi, everybody.
All right. I think I need to turn myself up a little bit. There we go. All right. Cool beans. So we got a couple viewers, it looks like. Hi. I hope your Saturday is going great. I hope quarantine's treating you okay. We have a little bit of a shorter live show today since we recorded a big segment on was that Wednesday night? Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
So we're gonna save that for the podcast tomorrow. But you really want to listen to it because it's an amazing segment. We had Dan Zayer on from Coffee with Kenobi, and we just talked about a lot of great stuff, positivity in the fan base, and all kinds of cool stuff. So, but live today we have some news, a couple news items, not too many things to go over, and then we have Clone Wars. Yeah, Clone Wars to talk about. So I'm gonna start recording. For our farm boys here. How you doing, buddy?
RFB in the house.
In the house. Alright, recording. And Rez is here. What's up, Rez? As I mess up the video. Alright, we're rolling. Okay. Cut the music down. Alright, Josh, I'm gonna play the intro if you're ready.
Ready to go.
Alright, let's kick it off.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 23 of the From a Certain Point of View podcast. This is the Michael Jordan and LeBron James episode. How are you doing this morning, Adam?
I'm doing good. I have nothing Michael Jordan or LeBron James to talk about, so.
Me neither. So
Okay,
yeah,
good. All right.
you know I watched the NBA when I was younger.
Yeah, same.
You know, in high school and whatnot, but
Yep.
kind of not so much anymore.
Yeah, same.
Not that we have the option of even watching it right now, but you know.
No, unless you watch some classic games or something.
Now I am hoping that they will continue the NHL season and the MLB season at some point, hopefully. But
Yeah,
this,
I don't know.
yeah,
Be a weird
this
without
is,
weird year without a Stanley Cup, but
yeah. But I guess this isn't a sports podcast. This is a Star Wars podcast. So what have you
unless we
been up
talk
to
like
this week?
what was that football game that they played in episode 2? It has a
Oh
name, I think.
yeah.
I can't
When they were
remember.
in that cantina
Yeah,
type
yeah,
place
yeah,
or
in the
whatever
bar.
it was, that sports bar.
Yeah, in the bar. Want to buy some?
You don't want to
death
sell me death
sticks.
sticks.
Cool. So, what have you been up to this week? Anything Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with you. I actually wrote my first article for Star Wars Newsnet, which I was really excited about, and that was
Yeah.
the review of the Star Wars or the Skywalker Legacy documentary. So I was really excited about that. And last night I watched some Clone Wars. I watched some
Okay.
Rise of Skywalker, and I've continued reading the novelization. I'm still a little bit behind because I'm a slow reader, but
That's
I
okay.
also watched the first 2 episodes of season 5 of the Clone Wars, and
Oh, okay.
absolutely loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a showdown between Obi-Wan and Maul,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the second episode they were on, I think, is it Onderon or something like
Yeah, I
that?
think
Is
so.
that?
Yeah.
And we got to see Saw Gerrera
Mm-hmm.
and Saw's sister, I believe, and
Yep.
that was a cool episode too. So I'm really digging season 5 so far.
Yeah, season 5 is really great TV. Probably the best Clone Wars, I think. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing that. How about you?
Did a little bit of reading. I've read some of the novelization still. I've read a little bit more of Poe Dameron. What else did I do? I played a little bit more of the game I talked about last week, the Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast on Switch, which back in the day I loved that game, and I'm starting to get the hang of it now. It's just it hasn't aged well, I guess, in terms of controls and stuff. So, then Star Wars, that's about it. The rest of my week was Animal Crossing on Switch, and I've been making my island, so that was about my week.
Gotcha.
So,
well, Adam, I think we're gonna see the return of the Trivaway this week.
oh, nice.
Yeah, not the return of the Jedi, but the return of the Trivaway.
Oh, what you got?
Well, because I have here a if you can see it, Rise of Skywalker lithograph.
Tilt it up a little bit.
Is like that?
Yeah, that's a little
Is that better?
There you go.
Okay, so we got the lithograph. I received this from my Disney Club purchase of the Rise of Skywalker, and I think that's going to be a Triv-away giveaway.
That's
So
awesome. So
yeah, so we'll come up with a question for this week and
so
give
for the
that out.
podcast listeners, that's a what would you say? That's like
It's a lithograph,
yeah, but as
sort
far
of
as
like
the
a mini.
size, it's probably like it's bigger than a 5
It
by
may,
7. It's less than 8.5 by 11.
yeah. I'd
Uh,
say it's closer to a 5 by 7
yeah,
probably.
probably.
Kind
The
of little
top half
poster.
is yeah, and the top half is Ray and Company on Kefper,
Mm-hmm.
and the bottom half is just the Star Wars logo, or is it the Rise of Skywalker?
It's like the title card, yeah, like
Okay,
the Rise of
okay, cool.
Skywalker.
So that's a pretty
So
cool
yeah,
prize. So we'll
yeah, I
stay
thought so.
tuned to the end of the show, and we'll have a trivia. We'll tweet that, right?
Yeah, we'll
We
tweet
haven't
that
done this in
out.
a while. I'm a little
Yeah,
rusty.
yeah. We'll tweet that question out for you.
Okay,
And
cool,
speaking of
cool.
that, we have poll results for this week as well. This week's poll question was, what was your favorite aspect of the Skywalker Legacy documentary? The original trilogy clips came in at big 0%. Yeah, we've seen that. We've done that before.
Yeah,
The filming techniques came in at 40%, and the cast and crew at work was 53% of the vote, which was the winner. And how they handled Leia was 7%. So on this poll, I went with the filming techniques just because I love that stuff. I love behind the scenes stuff. I love learning how movies get made and the different techniques they use and how they do the special effects and everything.
yeah,
Um, so that's where I went with that
yeah.
one.
I
How about
cheated a
you,
little
Adam?
bit. I
Yeah, I
went with
thought so.
filming techniques, and I in my head I bundled that in with the Leia stuff just to see how they built scenes around her, and you know. So I kind of chose filming techniques, but in my head I also included Leia in that. So,
Yes. Yes, that works.
and one thing we didn't talk
Sense.
about last week was the sinking fields, and I don't know
Yeah,
why we
yeah.
didn't mention that, but that I 1,000% thought that was CGI, but to
Yeah, I
see
didn't
that it
think it
was
was
practical,
practical.
that's crazy.
Yeah, they dug out another big hole in the desert, and what
Mm-hmm.
they have under there, that it was kind of like those big
Shipping
storage
containers,
units,
yeah,
big shipping containers, and
yeah,
um, underneath there, and I think they actually used as the black sand, like black beans or something like that, so that when they went under there, um, they weren't inhaling a bunch of sand and whatnot.
yeah, right. Cool. So this week on the show, we've got some news to talk about. It was a little bit of a light news week, but we got some things that we flagged that we can talk about. And we have a new Clone Wars episode, which was episode 7, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
episode 7.
Dangerous Debt,
Hmm.
episode 7. Um, And then we have an amazing segment that we pre-recorded on Wednesday night, since we're doing this live on Saturday.
Yeah,
And
that
we're
was awesome.
having, yeah, we have Dan Zaire from Coffee with Kenobi joined us, and we're going to talk about uh, positivity and being a positive fan, and that type of stuff. It was a really fun, amazing conversation. So definitely listen to all of that good stuff from Dan, and we really appreciate him hanging out with us for a bit. So
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
yeah,
Stay tuned for that.
and I'm ready to kick into news. What about you?
Let's do it.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right, I'm actually gonna lead off. I'm gonna go out of order here, Josh, but I'm gonna lead off with the sad news, and
Okay. Yeah.
that was this past week, April 1st. Star Wars actor Andrew Jack passed away, and it was confirmed later that he passed away due to complications from COVID-19. So, this is something that we've all been dealing with in some form or fashion for the last month or more, depending on where you're at. And this was just kind of a reminder. This was kind of our within our fan base, this is when it hit home, I guess, a little bit. So, Andrew Jack uh, played the voice of Moloch in Solo, and he also played background character Major Kaluan Emmett. I believe I'm pronouncing that right in Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So, our
Yeah,
thoughts
and
and
I think
prayers
he would.
are with his family, and just a reminder that this is real stuff and affects us all. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was the character that kind of stepped out at the Battle of Crate and was kind of looking through the macro binocs.
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe that
yep,
was
that
him.
was him.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just really sad, and like you said, it's something that hit home and hit the Star Wars community, and um, whether you're dealing with this on the front lines, if you're a healthcare worker, a nurse, or a doctor, or if you suffered from the condition, or even if you're just kind of living in a little bit of fear and panic and isolation, um, it's definitely affecting all of us, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that's dealing with this.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on to some more fun things to talk about, but StarWars.com on their blog released a kind of an in-depth look at some of the High Republic characters, the Jedi that we're going to be seeing in the novel and comic publications starting in August. As far as we know, that's still in August. I don't know if
Hmm.
COVID would have any implications on that, but so far
Yeah,
still August.
I'm hoping they'll still move forward with that, since it's
Yeah,
publication and everything.
yeah. So, I wanted to dive into these characters that they showed off, and the first was Avar Kriss, which is the blonde-haired female Jedi that's front and center on the cover of Light of the Jedi, right? That's the right title.
Uh,
I believe
yes, I
so.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah, Light of the Jedi.
Hmm.
And each character has a little bit of a bio, so I'm going to go ahead and read that. Avar is the brightest, most noble example of Jedihood. She always tries to see the good in people and situations and never puts herself first. She is invigorated about life on the frontier and the challenges it brings, and is an inspiration for those who work with her. She is compassionate, not dogmatic, and always ready to sacrifice herself over others. Avar Kriss is the best of the best. What do you think about Avar?
I think she looks very cool.
Yeah.
I like the green lightsaber. I like the description. She's kind of that character that's kind of your shining example of
Yeah.
the Jedi. And it'll be interesting to see the Jedi from this time period.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
again at
go
their
ahead.
kind of height, and
Yeah.
and, and
Yeah.
being the peacekeepers, and
Right.
um, so I'm excited.
I thought it was interesting that they called out the word dogmatic right in that bio.
Yes, because Palpatine
Yeah.
talks about the dogmatic narrow
The
view
view
of,
of the
of the
Jedi,
Jedi.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Indeed.
Next up is probably the best name that I've seen so far. Loden Greatstorm, and that is the Twi'lek Jedi. And I think that's the one on the cover that we weren't quite sure if that was a Twi'lek, and I think his second Leku was just kind of hidden.
Yeah.
But his name is Loden Greatstorm. He has a yellow lightsaber, so it's cool. We get to see that again. Loden is a Twi'lek Jedi Master and is considered to be one of the best teachers in the Jedi Order. Strong and wise with a good sense of humor, Loden looks at every moment as a learning experience, always trying to better himself and those around him, especially his Padawans. Uh,
Nice.
Loden, I don't know. Loden might be my guy, just from that little bio there.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's going to be exciting to see a Jedi Master during this time,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and everything. I really like that we're getting these descriptions of and finding out more about what these Jedi are all about.
yeah, for sure. Next up is Keith Trennis. Kiev is a young firebrand Jedi, believed to have a great future ahead of her, if only she would believe in herself. Quick-witted and more impulsive than she should be, Kiev has only been a Jedi Knight for a few weeks and is a little starstruck around Avar, knowing many of the great things Chris has done in the past. She is determined to prove herself to Avar and the other legendary Jedi stationed on Starlight Beacon, but first she must learn to trust in herself as much as she trusts in the Force. So that's cool. We get our Padawan. She has the double bladed green lightsaber.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see this character as kind of, a character that might make some mistakes and is still learning, and
Yeah.
is kind of impulsive, and maybe kind of learning from that, and learning to trust herself and everything. I think that'll be interesting to read about.
Yeah, definitely. Next up is Stellan Gios maybe. But he's a male human Jedi. He has the crossguard lightsaber, but it's the crossguard is all metal. It's not lightsaber blades. Uh, Stellan is an optimistic and well-respected Jedi Master. Stellan came up through the Order with Avar Kriss, and although they are often on different assignments for the Jedi or the Republic, when the two work together, they are a powerhouse team of two noble heroes in action. Strong in the Force and a natural teacher, Stellan is currently stationed at one of the Jedi Temple outposts on the distant planet of Karagon Viner.
So I think Stellan is my guy.
Yeah?
I'm liking Stellan. I love the crossguard lightsaber.
Okay, cool.
I love this description. I love that he has this kind of partnership with Avar, and seeing them work together. I mean, one of my favorite aspects of The Last Jedi and the end of the Rise of Skywalker was um, seeing Rey and Ben work when they work together. I think having
Okay,
that kind
yeah.
of male and female team of Jedi is awesome, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. Last that we have is Vernestra. It looks like she goes by Vern, and Roh, RWOH, is her last name. Her bio is she is a newly minted Jedi Knight. Vernestra Mary Allen was Padawan to Stellan Gios. She works hard and is devoted to the Jedi Order, more so than most her age. At 16, she is one of the youngest knights in a generation. She struggles to fit in with the adults while also setting a good example for the younger Jedi.
Cool. So Adam, do you think all these characters are going to be in the Light of the Jedi, or are these going to be like spread out a little? What are your
I
do
don't
you?
know. I think we might
I'm
get
not sure
some
if it said in the
introductions.
article. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it said either. I think we might get some introductions, but I kind of think that the novel itself is going to focus more heavily on the ones on the cover,
Yeah.
especially Avar. I think this might be Avar's book.
Right. That makes
Um,
sense. So everybody hanging out in the chat, who's your favorite Jedi so far that has been released for the High
yeah,
Republic?
and I
We
just
want
want
to
to
know
say I
what you guys
love
think.
their robes.
Yeah, they're very
Very
elegant
regal
and
and very, yeah, like you
yeah,
said, elegant. I love that,
yeah.
like gold trimmed, and yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice getting this update on the High Republic, because I had kind of forgotten about it for a few weeks there, to be honest, and
Yeah.
um, it was nice to get some more news about that and learn more about these Jedi.
Yeah, definitely. So our last news topic of the week is back to the Obi-Wan series. We've got a new writer for
Yes.
Obi-Wan, and it's going to be Joby Harold. And if you don't know that name, I don't think you were the only person that wasn't familiar with it.
Yeah, if
But he
you
has
haven't
a
heard the
few.
name, I'm not familiar with it either. So
Yeah, he has a few other writing credits to his name, but he hasn't done too much, and it's only been film. So I'm very interested to see what he does with this TV series. Keeping a positive outlook. I'm definitely ready for definitely ready for Obi-Wan, and I'm just gonna give it a chance. I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this series. This has been a series I've been excited about for either a movie or series I've been
Yeah,
excited about
yeah,
for years. I've wanted this to happen. It's interesting that at D23, Kathy Kennedy she made it seem like the scripts were good, ready to go. They were really happy with it, and I mean, I don't know what happened along the way. Maybe it was just because it was originally going to be a film and then they had to spread it out into a series, and maybe that's where they're kind of um, maybe having some issues and needing to bring another writer on. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but I know what they're doing is taking their time and making sure that it's as good as it can be, and I trust that. So
yeah.
um, yeah, it'll be worth the wait, I think.
I agree. So with that, that was the last for our news, and ready to do Clone Wars?
Yeah, let's talk about the Clone Wars.
Good. The show is about to begin.
Okay, episode 7 is Dangerous Debt. This is our third episode in the Ahsoka and Trace and Rafa arc. It starts with them in prison, and this is after they've been captured. They were trying to fly away. After trying to dupe the Pikes with the spice, so they have been captured. They're in a Pike prison. The first major thing in this episode is that Rafa starts giving some of her and Trace's backstory.
Hmm.
So why they're alone, what happened to their parents. We find all that out, and it turns out that their parents were killed, and this was during. It was. I thought it was interesting that they called back to the Zero the Hutt
Hmm.
episodes, and during that chase on Coruscant, or Coruscant as
Coruscant.
as Rafa likes to say, um, uh, their their home was crashed into by one of the ships involved in that chase, and their parents saved the two of them, but their parents didn't make it out. Uh, Rafa says later that a Jedi came back, and she said that she was taken aback by her deep eye, or the way her eyes looked, or how deep they were.
Hmm.
Black robes and green skin, so it sounds like she's referencing Luminara unduly,
Hmm.
and said to basically just said trust in the Force type thing. So they don't have a very positive outlook, I think, on Jedi, which adds another interesting dynamic for Ahsoka, another motivation, I guess, for her to keep her history secret. So
Yeah, it certainly adds another layer. I thought it added a lot of depth to this story. It made me appreciate this story a bit more. Finding out about the past and the connection to the Jedi and why they don't like the Jedi or anybody that's like kind of living above, on
mm-hmm.
Coruscant.
Right.
Um, and so I liked that added detail, and certainly Ahsoka comes into some situations in this episode where she needs to use the Force, but if they find out who she was or is, it could be detrimental to their relationship. So
Yeah. So the Pikes are still trying to figure out what happened to the spice, and they resorted to torture, which in the Star Wars universe is 9 times out of 10 by electricity, and which is what happens again here.
hmm.
Rafa is put on the table with this interesting looking, almost looked like a medical droid, but he was kind of limping, and he had these electric zapper hands. Um, she doesn't give up the information, but then we start, which is pretty much the rest of the episode, a prison break sequence, where they're getting out of captivity. They end up out in the streets doing some uh, getaway by vehicles and all this other stuff. What do you think about all of that action, Josh?
I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed this episode. I liked that aspect of it, and there were some characters that showed up in this episode that were not quite there yet, probably, that I loved that when they showed up, and I was like, oh, there they are.
Hmm.
This is our connection, and maybe where we're going forward with Ahsoka. Um, but I felt like this episode did kind of go around in circles a little bit, where they ended up kind of like back in the cell block again, and it was like, okay, let's just it just went in circles a little bit. That was my only kind of negative.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Hmm.
So during this prison break, possible escape, Ahsoka uses her force powers again. They have to jump across a chasm. Ahsoka uses a force push. Well, Rafa makes it across easily, but then the chasm, the walkway starts to separate, and she uses a force push to help Trace jump across, and then she uses a jump to get herself across. So we have that to talk about, but then we also have Rafa, who's immediately trying to leave her behind, and uh,
Yeah.
doesn't seem like if Ahsoka didn't make it and fell to her death, it was that big a deal. So,
No.
um, I just, I don't like Rafa. I can't like
Yeah,
her.
and you're not supposed to, you know what
I
I
don't
mean? Like,
know, and I really don't know. I don't. I I kind of think that's true, but then I also wonder
Mhm.
if maybe they're trying to build her up as this tragic type character that tries her
Mhm.
best. And I can't quite tell if the intention is for me to feel sympathy for her or to
Right.
just flat out dislike her.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what the intention is, although I would lean towards it, the latter of it being that character that you're kind of are not supposed to like, and because she's continuing to make these choices that get Ahsoka and Trace into trouble.
Well, and then she
Um,
says a little bit later, her and Ahsoka have this little uh, aside where Trace is
mhm.
off doing something else, and they have a little private conversation. And Rafa says something to the effect of, if she doesn't want to be part of the jobs I do, she can say no,
Mhm.
which seems manipulative to me. Uh,
Yeah.
it made me think of, when you hear about cults, and the only thing that the thing that they always say is that everyone's free to walk away if they want
Yeah,
to,
you're free to walk away, but you're really
but they're
not,
really
that
not.
type of thing.
Yeah,
Because,
because
it's her sister. It's the
yeah,
only
right,
person she has a connection with, aside from Ahsoka at this point,
yeah.
which is a brief one. Um, and I kept thinking this whole episode that either Trace or Rafa were going to die because of this whole
I
thing that
was
was
wondering
going
that
on. I,
too. Yeah.
I kept wondering if that was going to happen. And, especially there was that moment when Rafa kind of refused to give that poor
No,
maybe
yeah,
homeless alien any
yeah,
credits to help him out.
right.
And I was like, okay, this is definitely going to lead to something bad, because he's going to reveal who they are, where they are, and which is exactly what happened. Kind of
Yeah,
that
right.
lesson that when you make those choices and don't help somebody out, it could come back and get you.
Yeah, yeah. So, like you said, we end up back in the prison we started in. Uh, and Rafa learns her lesson. She, going back to the last episode, she learned her lesson a little bit too late here, from where she does apologize and she says this is all her fault for taking this job
Hmm.
and all this other stuff. Of course it is. But Ahsoka's right there, and she's got her back, and she says, we live and learn. Very Ahsoka thing to do.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's always tried in these, well, not always, but in these episodes, she's tried very hard to be there with Rafa and to get her on the right path. So,
Hmm.
just another reason to love Ahsoka, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, my love for Ahsoka only increases. And it was nice that Rafa finally apologized and finally
Yeah,
acknowledged
yeah,
that she made mistakes. That might be a turning point for her character,
could
possibly.
be.
Um, and I also love that Trace earlier in the episode kind of had a heroic moment against the Pikes when she was trying to get them
Yeah,
to
yeah,
escape and everything. So that was cool to kind of see that.
So kind of going
Yeah.
back to the beginning, the fortune cookie here was who you were does not have to define who you are.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Some pretty
You know,
obvious implications there, I think, with Trace, well, with
yeah,
Rafa, more or less.
right. I mean, the things you've done in the past don't have to define you, and you can always, take a better path.
I thought
And
it also
uh,
applied to
yeah.
Ahsoka in a different way, because she was a
Hmm.
Jedi, uh, basing what she knows, how she knows that Rafa and Trace feel about Jedi. That doesn't have to define her about her, who she is.
Hmm.
So in a little bit of
Certainly.
a more subtle way, I think it applied to her too.
Yes.
What'd you think about this episode as a whole?
I enjoyed it. I think maybe a little bit more than the other episodes in this arc. I mean,
Okay.
overall about this arc, I still feel about the same way, that I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the places they're going, and and everything that's happening, and with Ahsoka. Um, I loved that the Mandalorians showed up,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering, are they gonna come in here and maybe get them out of this situation, and that's how Ahsoka ends up on Mandalore. So I'm excited to see where that goes. That was probably my highlight, was like, ooh, the Mandalorians are here. So that
Yeah.
was cool. Yeah.
I'm a little bit opposite. I actually really didn't enjoy this episode much.
Hmm.
Um, some good
Yeah, I think that's
action,
fair.
some good dialogue. Characters moved along well. I really didn't enjoy how this ended up right back where they started. It felt like
Yeah, like,
this was almost a waste. Like like I feel like those character developments could have been done in other ways. Last
and
episode,
still push the
or
story forward,
yeah,
instead of
right.
going. That was my main issue with the Adam too, was it just going in circles
I
and
just
then
felt like I
ending
got
back where they
nowhere.
started. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, even though there was some forward progression with character
Hmm.
motivations and you know Rafa's in a different place than she started in this episode for sure. Um, but the rest of it, I just feel like I didn't get anywhere, and that bugs me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this arc overall, Adam. Is
Yeah,
just that, like, where is it going? Is what is the purpose of it? And
yeah. So
what?
as far as the purpose of it, I listened to a Ashley Eckstein was on Rebel Force Radio this past week.
Hmm.
So I listened to that interview. She talked a little bit about this, about how the three different arcs, the 3-4 episode arcs, and this one was placed here because I guess they felt like they didn't want to just jump into the Mandalore stuff without seeing
Hmm.
where Ahsoka has been.
Where
It
she's
kind
been, and
it's
yeah.
that transition. It serves as that transition from where she was at the end of 5 to get her
Hmm.
to where she is now in 7. So
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that as a purpose, um, but I think just that for me so far, just this episode has been really meh for me. So
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean,
yeah, but
for
next week
sure.
we wrap up this arc, and I have enjoyed this arc, so I'm definitely interested to see where we end here. So
Hmm. Yes, indeed.
okay. Well, next, we are really excited to welcome Dan Zare to the podcast for the first time, and we're talking some positivity as Star Wars fans, what that means, what that really means, and what we can do as fans to practice what we preach. So we hope you
Yeah, I mean,
enjoy.
I think we can all use as much positivity as we can right now, and
Yeah,
you know, I th- I'm excited about this conversation.
yeah, definitely. So we hope you enjoy it, and we're gonna go ahead and play that for you right now.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
Okay. If you're here live, we are not going to play that for you right now. You have to download the podcast and listen to it
Hmm.
later. Um, but I really hope you do, because Dan was just wonderful to talk to. So
Absolutely, it was a great conversation.
cool. And now for editing purposes, I'm going to play the ending transition, and we'll start that stuff.
I'm just glad you're here. At the end.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you, Dan, again. You heard Dan tell you where you can find him. We'll have all those links in the show notes. But definitely follow him on social media. You can usually find him at Dan Z. And then the show is Coffee with Kenobi, and that's one of my main podcasts, and it has been for years. So thanks again to Dan for hanging out with us for a bit, and we hope that interview spoke to you in some way, because it definitely spoke to Josh and I. So thank you all for tuning in again this week, and if you've been here live, thank you for that as well. On YouTube, we saw Mr. Rez hanging out, Royal Farm Boy, and we had Elite of Virals tuning in from Spain. That was cool. So thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If you are listening live and not subscribed to the show, make sure you do that. We're on a lot of major podcatchers, including iTunes, which if you are listening on iTunes, if you have iTunes on your PC or whatever, make sure you leave us a review. That helps us increase in ranks and get more people listening to the show, hanging out with us, and seeing what we do here. Make sure you check out the website FromACertainPointOfView.com, where we have blog posts. You can see all the places you can get in touch with us. There's links to all the podcatching services we are currently available on. Twitter is @CertainPOVPod. Facebook is From a Certain Point of View. Discord server links will be in the show notes, and it's also on the website. Email is certainpovpod@gmail.com. And anchor.fm, that's where we're hosted, and you can also use that to send us a 60-second voicemail that we can play on the show. And Josh doesn't know about this, but I wanted to use the voicemail thing, and here's what I want to do. In light of our conversation with Dan, I want voicemails. I want you guys to try out Anchor, to send us a voicemail and tell us what aspects of Star Wars are positive to you. What makes you feel good about being a Star Wars fan? So you got a 60-second voicemail you can send us. Make sure you just anchor.fm. Find the link will be on Twitter. Definitely, it's on the website. But send us one and let us know what Star Wars means to you.
Yeah, I think that'll be great to hear from some fans out there and some listeners about your experiences with the Star Wars fandom.
And then we'll play those on the show next week if we get any.
Yeah, I hope we get some. That'll be exciting to hear that and listen to those.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. So Josh, you mentioned that you had a Star Wars Newsnet article. Where can everybody find you and find everything else you do on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me writing articles on movienewsnet.com. Still working on my Better Call Saul season 5 reviews. So several of those reviews have already been out. I'm up to, I think, episode 7 at this point. It's a great show if you've watched Breaking Bad. I'm also currently writing a few articles for StarWarsNewsNet.com. Had the review of the Skywalker Legacy documentary, and also coming up next will be the themes of the sequel trilogy. And you can also find me on Twitter at JediJarJar1722.
Nice. And pretty much all the other stuff I do is at the Gauze85. Definitely mostly on Twitter. So if you want to see what I'm up to, it's the Gauze85.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in this week, and we look forward to hearing from you. Send us your, your positive voicemails, and if you have any questions you'd like us to answer on the show or topic ideas, send those in as well. And until next time, just remember that everything we told you was true.
From a certain point of view. Okay. Stop that. We are clear.
All right.
That's it.
Awesome.
Good recording.
Yeah, good job today, sir.
And you as well.
And thank you everybody for hanging out with us in the
Indeed.
chat.
Oops.
Yeah.
Accidentally took our cameras down for a sec.
I hope everybody stays safe and stays healthy and stays positive.
Yep.
And
Stay home, but if you can't, wear your
Yeah.
masks.
yep.
Don't get sick.
Exactly.
Stay home and listen to podcasts. And we'll have ours out tomorrow at 5.
So what do you got going on the rest of the weekend, Adam?
No idea. We did some yard work outside today, and that was about it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go cut the grass.
Yeah, we did that.
For the first time.
Yeah, we split that. Denise and I split that. So
Uh-huh.
she's doing
And
some burning.
that's cool. And I
I
think
like
we're gonna
how
take
You wore your Mandalorian shirt, and I wore my Baby Yoda shirt.
nice. We're in tandem. But yeah, I think we're gonna try to take Sydney's like somewhere, not in public, obviously, but to take pictures,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of like Easter type pictures.
Yeah, so we did
try-
last Monday around our area. I don't know if this is spread outside of our area or not, but there's this teddy bear hunt thing. Where people are putting teddy bears in their windows. So we took Grace out Monday, and we did that. So
Yeah, we took a little drive as well and looked for stuffed animals.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, I might check out WrestleMania this weekend. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I was thinking. I was wondering if I would do that too.
Yeah, so
Tonight's the Hall of Fame stuff, right?
is it? I wasn't
think
sure how
so.
they were splitting it up.
It's usually
Maybe
Hall
it
of
is
Fame
just-
on Saturday, and then WrestleMania.
Yeah,
on
I know they
Sunday.
said something about it being 2 parts. Like they were gonna
Yeah.
do some stuff tonight and
Oh,
some
maybe
stuff
they
tomorrow.
are then. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
they
know
are doing some
exactly
stuff.
what that's gonna look like.
I think
but-
last year they also did some NXT stuff on Saturday
Mhm.
night, so maybe
Yeah.
they'll do that. But it'll be interesting to see. I'll be interested to see what it's like with no audience.
Right.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen any of the. I know they've been doing no audience for a little while, and
Yeah.
I've seen
It's gonna.
AEW do some no audience stuff too.
Yeah, I haven't been watching a whole lot, but
No, I haven't either,
I'm sure it'll be weird.
and I won't know any of the storylines if I watch it. So
Yeah. I mean, I've been like checking in a little bit with just to keep up with the storylines a little bit,
Okay.
but not much beyond that. So,
all right.
well,
man.
hey man, have a great weekend.
Yep.
Stay safe and healthy, and
You
I'll be
as
talking
well.
to you soon.
Everyone in chat, thanks for hanging out, and
See you guys. May the force be with you.
may the force be with you.